it is literally a showdown between Ashley's dad and Alex. Like, it's crazy. Alex basically says he's absolutely in love with his daughter. And even as he's saying that, Ashley's dad is like, that's not it. I was like, oh my God. If they say yes at the altar, I will laugh, guys, because there's no way. There is actually no way. They should have never made it out of the pods. The fact that they've even made it out of the pods and we're in episode 7 and they're still here, diabolical. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. When I tell you that my head literally hurt from these next few episodes of Love is Blind, like, this shit is crazy, guys. So today I will be reviewing episode 7. Let's just jump right in. So we see Brittany, and the last episode ended with Brittany and Devontae. Brittany was calling him out on the fact that he's basically been checked out. Brittany looked like she ended up leaving. We see that Brittany is now telling the producers that Devontae should have basically gone home after his grandfather died, because Brittany is realizing that Devontae's head is just not, he's not in it, you know, and I agree, he should have left. She says they're talking about marriage, and Devontae is basically pissed at her that she's expressing how she feels, which to me, I'm like, yeah, this is not good, right? Because you should be able to talk about how you feel. And then basically we see Brittany also telling the producers that it's not okay to just not talk to her for 2 days. As Brittany is saying this, we can basically see Devontae, it almost looks like he's packing up his stuff, or maybe he's rearranging. I don't know what he's doing, but it almost looks like he's packing up his stuff. Devontae basically goes over to talk to Brittany, and Brittany says that yesterday she felt like they both had agreed on the fact that Devontae had been distant. So, you know, she didn't understand how he could be so understanding then, and then today it's like he's acting like Brittany's crazy, and that, you know, he doesn't, you know, and she was saying that she didn't like the fact that when she brought up yesterday that Devontae was being distant, he never really talked about his family situation or the fact that his grandfather died or that he was having a hard time. So in Brittany's mind, she's like, how am I supposed to understand what you're going through when essentially you don't tell me? Brittany basically says again that she feels alone, and Devontae says that he feels like Brittany's not being understanding, but I'm like, what about Brittany is not being understanding? She's literally trying to ask you why you're behaving in the way you are. I mean, I don't understand this at all. She basically says she doesn't think Devontae is ready for this process. Devontae says he's sorry. Devontae says he's sorry that she feels this way, and he ends up hugging her. Brittany literally starts crying as he's hugging her. And guys, like, I really feel for Brittany. Part of me is just like, she might need to just leave at this point, because I think Devontae was checked out from the reveal to a certain extent, right? And he's blaming it on his grandfather dying and stuff going on with his family. But we all know that when men are maybe not attracted to you or they're not into something, instead of them actually coming out and saying that, they're like masters of deflecting and blaming it on everything else in their lives other than the fact that they might not be into you. It's so crazy. I'm like, he can just be honest and say that, like, he's not into this. You know, you don't have to blame it on everything else going on in your life. Like, it literally drives me crazy. And Brittany seems like such a sweet person. I feel for her, because I just feel like this should not be her experience. She shouldn't have to be begging a man to open up to her. Like, this is crazy. See all the couples, they're preparing to basically leave Cabo and go back to like their home in Ohio, you know, where they have like that shared apartment and can kind of start the next process in this experiment. All right, so we see Jessica and Chris. Jessica says she's appreciated when Chris is frustrated, but says to Jessica, like, his frustration doesn't necessarily have to do with her. So she likes how he communicates his feelings to her. She mentions that she's still surprised everything is so natural between them. And it's basically like she's waiting for the other shoe to drop, which in my mind, I'm like, that's great. So it seems like Jessica and Chris are still very much in this like happy bubble. Every time we see them, we don't really see a lot of issues. If anything, all they talk about is how they're surprised that it feels so natural between them. So I'm like, okay, it seems like they're still in this really good honeymoon phase. We haven't seen any issues. The one thing I will say though, which I'm not sure if you guys heard about this, I did see an article, which I will link down below, about how Jessica and Chris definitely have different political views. Jessica brought up in the pods that she's very vocal, right, about her views on social media, and that she posts and she's passionate about it. And they are literally like day and night. Like, I'm going to post this article because when I saw it, I thought to myself, I don't really know how this couple will work out in the end. When I saw that, I was like, ooh, it might seem great now, but they're so, like, it's crazy how different it is, you know? So I'm going to post it. I don't want to get into what their political views are, but just to give you guys a synopsis, Jessica is very much a Democrat. Chris is giving conservative. It's giving MAGA, right? And as we know, in this political atmosphere, the divide when you have different political views is stronger than it's ever been, unfortunately. So based off of that alone, I don't think things are going to be peaches and cream for very long between Jessica and Chris, okay? I'm not going to hold my breath because it's really bad. Okay, so then we go back to Alex and Ashley. We see Alex basically calling his mom on the phone, and she gets to kind of like speak to Ashley briefly. Alex's mom says she's excited to meet Ashley, and we hear Alex's mom say that she's like traveling and that she just got a new job, but that she would love to like eventually meet Ashley. Ashley and Alex talk about leaving Cleveland, Ohio, and are thinking of possibly moving to Arizona, it seems. So they don't necessarily want to stay in Ohio, and that's something that they have been discussing. Ashley mentions that Alex, once again, is so calm, and I can tell that this bugs her, right? Because she's like, there's so many things going on, but Alex seems to be in this same mode of just, well, you know, like it's so weird. And if I'm being honest, if I was Ashley, I would be concerned too, because no matter what happens, Alex's temperament is not really changing. And it is strange because he's never been engaged before. He's never had to merge his life with someone before, from what I know. I don't know how he's so like, and part of me just feels like he's not really in it the way that he should be, because in my mind, I'm like, you should be feeling something, right? Ashley's like, give me something. Like, I don't get it, you know? And it is odd. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Then we go back to Emma and Mike. We see that they're basically unpacking their things. Mike says he's never lived with a woman before, so that's something that will be very new to him. He once again brings up the fact that she's very cluttered and has a lot of things and is not very neat. And Emma basically says that, you know, Mike himself isn't perfect and that he doesn't close any doors when he opens them. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so now they're doing tit for tat, I guess. But eventually Emma says that she will try and pick up her stuff and that she'll work on that. Yeah, personally, I think that this will continue to be an issue because her being messy has been brought up by Mike multiple times now. So, all right, then we go back to Amber and Jordan. Amber basically went to go visit her daughter and like explain to her what's been going on and that she's met Jordan. And Amber basically says that she is allowed to be happy, which I thought was like an interesting thing to say, only because I was like, well, who's stopping you from being happy? Like the way she said it was almost like, I don't know, like it was a weird thing the way she said it was a little strange, but in my head, I'm like, I hope she's felt like she's allowed to be happy. It's almost like maybe she's felt like she hasn't been able to have that happy ending. And in my mind, I'm like, actually, yeah, you are allowed to be happy, you know, like who's telling you you're not, you know? I think that Amber is nervous specifically about, you know, Jordan meeting her daughter and all this stuff. And I think that, you know, she probably is hoping that this works out, because at the end of the day, like, just because you're a single parent, right, doesn't mean that you also don't deserve to find someone. I agree with that. So, all right, then we go back to Bri and Connor, and Bri is saying she wants this to work out and be confident to say yes at the altar, you know. Bri asks why Connor chose her, which I thought was a strange thing to ask, only because I guess I thought that at this point it would be clear. If anything, like Connor should be asking Bri that question, considering how much she's hung up on Chris. But Bri, I guess, wants some reassurance Connor basically goes into this spiel about how she's so confident and strong. He says it's attractive for her to go after what she wants. He can see that she's like really good at her job and is very valuable. He sees how hard she works, and that motivates him so much for her to be so direct with him in what she wants. And then he says that he can feel that she's caring and that he basically got lucky with her. Bree lets out this like forced smile and doesn't really look impressed. Doesn't really look impressed by this at all. Guys, I think she's definitely still thinking about Chris. And I have to be honest, some of the things Connor said about Bree, I don't know why it kind of bugs me a little bit when a guy describes a woman as being so strong and confident and motivated. I don't know why, but I don't really like hearing those words. Like when a guy has to use those kinds of words to describe a woman, I don't want to be like, I feel like sometimes they're talking about that because that's the opposite of what they are. And as much as I like Connor and I think that they could work, there is something about Connor that's giving like, I think Bree almost feels like she will be able to like run all over him, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. Bree said in the pods that she wanted someone that would put her in her feminine energy. I don't think Connor is that person. There's something about him. Even the way he described her, I just don't think Connor is that person. And I think that Bree can pick up on that and it's bothering her. And basically Bree says she envisions her life with him in the future. But there's something about Bree where I almost feel like she's not really convinced by Connor, or she's not really in it, like her heart isn't in it. That's what I'm picking up on as of now. It's unfortunate because I really do like Connor, but I don't necessarily know if Bree is the right person for him. I don't. And I get the feeling that Bree is starting to think she might not be the right person for Connor. That's what I'm picking up on. We go back to Brittany and Devontae, where they're in bed talking, and it seems like they're doing much better. I was like, okay, after all of that, it seems like they're doing a lot better. She says she's super hopeful that this is the real deal. She says she feels safe with him and that she trusts him. They kiss and basically go to bed. So I guess Brittany and Devontae are still trying to give this a chance, guys. I literally thought Brittany would be gone. So they're still in this. Then we go back to Amber and Jordan. Amber is visiting Jordan's place for the first time, which in my opinion, for a man's place, like it didn't look bad. Like I was like impressed. He has a bed frame and a headboard. We thank God. I was like, okay, he gets points for that. He had some like rotting bananas and some food in his fridge that had gone bad. And then Amber gets to see that he also has a little man cave. They discuss Amber's daughter's school and where it's located, and the fact that they might have to kind of think about maybe Jordan kind of moving somewhere else closer to where her daughter goes to school. But all in all, I feel like they're communicating and working through things really well. Like this was, I'm not, as of now, this is my favorite couple. Jordan visits Amber's place and she has a house in Mount Vernon. It seems like this is a house that she bought, so I believe she possibly owns it. And it's a pretty cute place. She shows him the renovations that she did and how the place looked very different before. So she shows him old photos of what the place looked like and the changes that she made. And she has really done a lot of work in the house. Just based off of that, I doubt that Amber will want to leave that behind, because I know, especially once you put a lot of work in a house, people usually want to try and keep that, right? Then we see Vic and Christine, and Vic basically gets to meet Christine's mom for the first time. Okay, so we see Christine's mom saying that she finds it interesting that someone with Vic's level of education would even do something like Love is Blind, which I find interesting too. And she was saying that, not to say that people that aren't intelligent go on the show, but I guess based on Vic's like level of academic success, she thought that maybe he could have found somebody outside of the experiment. That's what I was getting at, what she was saying. They basically explain, Vic and Christine explain how they became drawn to each other in the pods. Her mom says God drew them together. Vic mentions the amazing way Christine basically talked about her mom and that when Vic heard how Christine talked about the mom, that was another thing that really attracted him to her, because he knew that the mom had a really big heart. The mom was obviously really happy to hear this, to hear that, you know, Christine had a sense of admiration for her. Christine's mom mentions that, you know, Christine doesn't really have the best dad. She refers to him as being a jerk, which is obviously something that Christine opened up with Vic about in the pods. Her mom seemed to take to Vic very well, and even asked about when she would have a grandbaby. So I thought that this went really well. I think the mom really liked Vic. They end up saying a prayer, and we see Christine's mom telling the cameras that Vic seems very self-assured and that he's hot. I was like, Christine better watch out, because the mom looks like she's after Vic. But yeah, that was really, really funny. I think that if anything, at least they know that, you know, Christine's mom is definitely on board. So that was really good to see. All right, then we go back to Bree and Connor. So Bree basically gets to see Connor's house for the first time, that he bought about 2 years ago. She opens his fridge and you can see that he mostly has beer in there. I was like, beer? Where's the food? I think he had beer and condiments, literally, like ketchup and mustard and all that stuff. Bree can see that he likes plants and that he still has his Christmas tree up, even though Christmas was like months ago now. She says that he's basically a frat boy. Luckily, when Bree goes to Connor's room, he has a headboard, he has a bed frame. It looks decent, right, for a guy. She gets to see his man cave, which is where he games and works, and then also notice that he has a keg stand outside. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely giving frat boy. I was kind of surprised, but then I didn't really peg Connor to be a frat boy, but that's really what it was giving. His garage did not have his car in it, and he kind of made that into another man cave. I could see in the corner that he had like cases and cases of more beer, and I was just like, oh my God, like, what do you need all that beer for? Bree basically almost broke his back door. She was joking about how he only had a latch on the back door, and she tries to open the door and like almost breaks it. So yeah, Bree's out here trying to break this man's house. But all in all, I think it went well. You know, Bree thought it was pretty funny that his place was just giving frat boy vibes, basically. Then we go back to Alex and Ashley, and we see that he is getting to meet Ashley's family for the first time. I believe it was the mom, her dad, and then it looked like possibly her brother as well. Before the parents actually get there, Alex and Ashley are talking. Ashley once again asks Alex, are you nervous? And he's like, oh no, I'm not nervous. If anything, it seems like Ashley might be more nervous than Alex at this point, which I don't even know how that's possible, guys, because most people, when you're meeting your parents' fiance for the first, or your fiance's parents for the first time, you're nervous. There's something there, you know? So I don't really know how Alex is still so calm and even keeled, but that doesn't last very long, okay? Because Ashley's dad grills the fuck out of Alex. So let's get into it. Ashley basically says that her dad thinks that she deserves the world. So knowing that, we already know that her dad is gonna have some high expectations for Alex. So Ashley's dad does not even waste any time. He starts grilling this man with questions. He immediately asks, what have you learned about Ashley? He says he loved her relationship with her family and that she's very independent, very strong, and confident. And he basically says, and then we see Ashley like chime in, and she says that Alex became her best friend. Ashley says she spoke to Alex about her dad as he was the protector and provider. And as Ashley is saying this, she starts tearing up. As she's tearing up, Alex is looking at her like, why the fuck are you crying? The look that Alex is giving her, I don't know why, guys, but it made me laugh. So she says Alex felt like home. The cameras then turn to Alex, and he's able to give like a forced smile when she says that, right? Like he's like, oh, let me smile because I should smile. I'm so terrible, but there's something about Alex that's just so performative. So the dad basically asks what Alex studied, and he explains to his dad what happened with soccer and that he studied finance, all this stuff. The dad asked to take him through the last 5 years of what his life has looked like. And guys, my head was spinning. When Alex described all the places he's lived and the things he's done in those places, talking about how he was a personal trainer here, lived in Australia here, went to Bondi, I was like, I don't know why, but I don't remember seeing this in the pods. Like, I don't remember like hearing Alex talk about how he's traveled to this degree. It was, even hearing him say that alone, I'm sitting here thinking, and now you want to get married and start a family? Like, that's hard to believe. And trust and believe, Ashley's dad also thought that was hard to believe. So he continues grilling this guy with questions, okay? Alex mentions that he met his dad for the first time in Hong Kong at 25 years old. And it seems like his dad basically remarried possibly twice and had other children with other women. So he had another family. Alex goes on to say that he was actually an accident and that his parents didn't necessarily plan for him. So that can explain why his dad maybe wasn't in his life for a majority of his life. His grandparents were basically that anchor that, really kept him grounded. Like, his grandparents seemed to be in his life a lot. And he mentions that his grandfather, in a way, was like a father figure to him. So Ashley's dad asked a question, which I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. After hearing about all the places Alex has lived, Ashley's dad wants to know, what makes you think you can settle down now after all that? What makes you think you're ready, And, Alex says he's absolutely tired of moving, tired of having a different this, different that. And Ashley's dad says different chicks. Damn, guys. Ashley's dad is onto this guy. Like, he can tell that he's a player. I was like, damn, that is a dig. But even as he said that, Alex kind of made this, did this awkward like laugh. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, he's onto your ass, because let's keep it real. Alex is a player. He's already trying to talk to another girl in this process, Brittany, before even seeing things through with Ashley. And now he's trying to come to Ashley's dad and act like he's this. Nah. Ashley's dad is like, I see through you. Like, all this traveling, you're a good looking guy, you're an ex-professional athlete. We already know what the deal is. And now all of a sudden you want to settle down. Ashley's dad is like, make me believe it. Prove this to me, So he's making him really work. I can literally see Alex sweating. He's sweating, guys, okay? He's shitting himself because he did not expect this. So Ashley basically jokes and says that she will kill them in reference to all the different chicks that he might have been with, and Ashley's dad laughs about that. The dad asks what he does with trading and asks him the price of Bitcoin today. Alex couldn't even give an exact price. Then, Ashley's dad asks who Alex voted for. And this is interesting, guys. Alex basically says he didn't vote, but that if he would have voted, it would have been for Trump. Let me not even get into that. But it seems like the dad was okay with that answer, from what I could tell, because after that, the dad stopped grilling him for a little while. The dad basically says that, or Ashley's dad basically says that he's a professional question asker and that Ashley is actually just like him. And Ashley starts laughing. Ashley is not really saying anything, guys. As he's being grilled, like, she's not even like nodding or like giving any sense of like, her supporting Alex. No, she's literally sitting there looking. At one point, she takes some drink out of whatever she's drinking. Like, she's literally sitting back as this guy's being grilled. And I just was like laughing. Like, this is so funny. Alex basically explains having to reinvent himself after soccer. And Ashley's dad basically asks, what does he want to do? And I feel like there's something about Alex where he just seems like he's all over the place. And I think Ashley's dad can pick up on this. So he's trying to get a grip for like who Alex is and what he really wants out of life. Because I don't think Ashley's dad is really buying this whole thing he's putting up, right? He wants to know, like, who are you? What do you want in life? Alex says he wants to day trade full time and that he loves coaching like soccer, so that these are things he wants to continue to do. He mentions that he has a job in Southwest Florida and can get back into finance if he needs to. The dad says he's done divorce work for 40 years and that you should never call your partner something that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. That is basically as simple as it is. If you can follow that rule, hopefully you can remain married, which I think is really good advice. And through this whole thing, Ashley's mom is also not saying much either. That's another thing that I observed. Like, Ashley's dad is just like going in, and the mom is not saying anything. Ashley's brother's not saying anything. Like, it is literally a showdown between Ashley's dad and Alex. Like, it's crazy. So the dad basically says, that Alex is flashy and very polished, but the rest he doesn't really know. And once again, Ashley's dad is picking up on the fact that Alex looks good from the outside, but there's still substance missing, right? He's still trying to figure out, who are you? Because you're saying everything right, but who are you? Alex basically says he's absolutely in love with his daughter. And even as he's saying that, Ashley's dad is like, that's not it. I was like, oh my God. Like, because Ashley's dad can tell that Alex is just trying to say what he thinks he should say in this moment. And it's so not genuine, right? So Ashley's dad is like, cut the shit. Who are you? What are you really about, right? And then Ashley's dad says that's more like words. Alex says he can't say it in words, but that he can show him through action. And Alex says, he asks for Ashley's dad to allow him to show him these things. The dad says he's the patriarch of the family. He says earning his trust is not easy. And Alex says he's not asking for his trust right now, but that he's asking for him to give him an opportunity, a chance. We see the dad saying to the cameras that he answered the questions he asked him too well. He doesn't think honesty is Alex's strength. And I agree. So Ashley's dad is clearly on to the fact that there's something about Alex that's just not right. He seems a little too perfect. He seems like he has all the answers just ready, and that's not normal, right? So the dad is saying he has to protect his daughter and that everyone is attracted to her and that she is basically dynamite. He says anyone that gets her is lucky, but, and that in the past, Ashley has had a bad picker. So you can tell that the dad is very, very protective of Ashley. I just did not expect this, I didn't expect him to come at Alex so hard. And I know that part of the reason he's came at Alex so hard is because Alex is giving fake. He's phony. You know what I mean? He's putting up an act for the cameras for this entire process. And Ashley's dad can pick up on that. He's like, you can't fucking fool me. Like, come on now. I loved it. So we then go back to Emma and Mike, and Mike says there are still a lot of questions he needs answered before the weddings, right? He asked her if she plans to stay in Columbus to look for another job. It seems like Emma is considering looking for something else. And she says she's open to that, but that at this point, she will make the choices to be with him. So if it just so happens that she ends up having to leave Columbus, she's ready for that and ready to look for an opportunity elsewhere. Once again, Mike brings up kids again and says he has 2 best friends that just had children. He says he wants a family and doesn't want her resenting him if they do have a kid. And guys, I gotta keep it a buck. I'm actually tired of Mike and Emma. I'm tired. I'm tired of Mike bringing up the same thing. And it did bug me that he was talking about how his best friends just had babies. Like, what do your best friends have to do with you? Have to do with you and Emma and your relationship? It's giving, I'm looking at other people to then determine what I want in my life. I hate when people do this because everybody is on their own path. If you want to have a child and you want children, say you want children. I don't want to hear that Tom, Joe, all of these friends you had children. I don't care about that. What does that have to do with me? Mike is getting on my nerves. Like, he really is. Emma has explained to you her reservations with kids. So what does you telling her that the people you know in your life had kids, what does that have to do with Emma? It has nothing to do with Emma. Mike needs to go find a woman that's ready to have kids for him now. Emma is not that person. If they say yes at the altar, I will laugh, guys, because there's no way. There is actually no way. They should have never made it out of the pods. The fact that they've even made it out of the pods and we're in episode 7 and they're still here, diabolical. Diabolical work. And that is how this episode ends. I know this was a really long review. If you guys made it to this point, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.